All right, welcome back. That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. And today, our good friend Jarrod Prosser is here to talk about the NBA. So, Jarrod, what's going on? How are you?
Doing well, mate. We've got a pretty interesting NBA season happening. I don't think we've spoken on air since the previews. We've spoken a fair bit off air about it, but I don't think we've spoken since the previews, to the greater Vendetta worlds. But we've got a really intriguing season. There's a lot of really interesting subplots coming on through this season.
Yeah. When you say that, the first thought that goes to my head is in the NBA power rankings that we put out, I had the Sacramento Kings as the 13th best team in basketball. I might have been too low.
I was just about to say that might tell him, which if you'd spoken to anyone 6 months ago and said Sacramento are a top 10 team in the NBA, like you would have wondered if they were having a stroke.
I was too low.
Like this has been, and look, I loved the potential of Sacramento's offense. Fox and Sabonis, even last season, developed this amazing chemistry. Fox averaged 30 points a game towards the end of last season for the last 6 weeks or whatever it was, pretty much since Sabonis came on board. And Sabonis is, an all-star, borderline, but still he has played all-star games. I was worried that they could be like that Brad Beal Washington team of about 3 years ago where they were losing games 137 to 140, which means they'd be a great league pass watch, but I didn't expect them to win 40 games. And they're on track to win 50. This is incredible.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to start there. That's one of my buys. We're going to do a stock market buy or sell second half of the season coming up. Which teams do you think will take a slide? Which teams you'll maybe make a surge? I guess we didn't plan on doing this, but one of my buys is Sacramento. I've believed in them since the beginning of the year, and I continue to believe in them now. And I know people have ripped on them for the Sabonis trade. How could you give up Halliburton? But, I mean, at the same time, is it a crazy concept that if you're going to get a good player, you have to give away a good player at the same time? Not every trade has to be a robbery, does it?
You took the words out of my mouth. You got to, if you want to get, you got to give.
Yeah.
If you want to get, you got to give. You have to. And, ultimately this has worked for both teams.
Yeah.
Sacramento, it's a genuine win-win trade. Sacramento had too many point guards. Indiana had too many centers, and they were all too talented. Sabonis and Turner, you can't put one above the other, and they get in each other's way. Halliburton and Fox, you can't put one above the other, but they get in each other's way. These two teams legitimately helped each other out with this trade.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm buying Sacramento. I believe in them, and they have some sneaky shooting. Herter's dropping 42% from three. And Monk has
There's nothing sneaky about their shooting. There is nothing sneaky about their shooting. Like Monty McNair, who just signed an extension, and good on him because he's been the best GM Sacramento have had since Jeff Petrie 20 years ago. He has very deliberately said, okay, a brilliant high post hub and an electric point guard, but neither of them are great shooters. We need shooting everywhere else. And he's gone and done it. He gave up a first-round pick to get Huerta. And as you mentioned, he's shooting, low to mid-40s from threes on a good number of attempts and some difficult ones as well. He's just not just standing in the corner. He's not Royce O'Neal. He's catching him on the fly. He's shooting brilliantly this season.
Malik Monk has been a good addition for them too. And Keegan Murray turned out actually probably to be the right pick. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I was another one of these guys who looked at pick 4 and thought, geez, Ivy's the obvious pick, but do they end up in the same position again with all these point guards? But Murray was a little bit out of the blue for me. You can't fault McNair. He just hasn't put a foot wrong. He's been fantastic the last couple of years, really.
I believe in him. Light the beam.
Even and look, even the light the beam thing, it's kitschy as all hell, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Going back to McNair, even his hiring of Mike Brown, who is like the retread. And look, we've seen it with Jason Kidd in Dallas. Coaches can improve just as players can improve. But Mike Brown has been the perfect coach for this team. He set a baseline level of defensive proficiency that if you can't reach this, you don't play. And he hasn't gotten in the way of the offense. It's everything McNair has done in the last couple of years has turned to gold. Everything he touches turns to gold for this mob.
So you agree with me?
And it's so weird because it's the Kings.
Yeah. So you agree they're a bye? No issues.
They weren't one of the three. Yeah, they weren't one of the teams I had on my list, but they were. I suppose you could call them the first apology. I went with three other teams other than Sacramento, but yeah, if you can buy King stock, empty out the piggy bank.
All right, why don't we just go over your list? Let's see your list. We'll do the 3 teams that you got for each. Just kind of jump right in. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Well, this isn't so much buying a team, but I'm buying an individual and by extension buying stock in this team.
Okay. And
you're going to laugh at this, Trey, but it's LeBron James and the Lakers.
Wow.
And look, considering how well Anthony Davis was playing and how the Lakers were still struggling with AD something close to his best, Davis's injury could have torpedoed this campaign. Now, LeBron James is phenomenal. Anybody who denies that at this stage is either just being obtuse or is an absolute dipshit. Let's face it. Even in his late 30s, he's amazing. But carrying this team without AD and without Lonnie Walker, who was having a really sneakily good season, surely that would have proved too much, right? Instead, I think it's been like 5 weeks now that AD's been out, and LeBron has gone on a run for the ages, 34, 8, and 8. Really good percentages. This stat floored me. And this includes today's game, the loss to the Clippers. They are one.
Yeah, they got
they did. But look, the Clippers are an excellent side. They just can never get their team on the floor. Since AD went down, the Lakers are a plus 112 with LeBron on the court and minus 140 with him off. Like that's ridiculous.
Well, they are bad. I mean, that's
that's why I'm buying. But that's exactly why I'm buying LeBron stock. He has been immense over this 5 weeks. He has just steadfastly refused to let this team die. Now, sure, the Lakers aren't good, but they're about to get AD back. Walker's due to come back as well. Hachimura, and we were going to touch on this later. But yeah, exactly. And you and I are probably two of the last people that are left on Hachimura Island. We both love him. But he's a really good addition for the Lakers. You can tell Hachimura, he didn't start playing organized basketball until he was something like 17. So he's only been playing organized ball for 7 years. Now, I started playing when I was 4. So by the time I was Hachimura's age, I've been playing for 20 years. So you can see the lack of feel that Hachimura has. But he's 6'8", 6'9". He's big, strong-bodied, long arms. He's turned himself into a good shooter, and he's really athletic in the open floor. This is exactly the sort of player that LeBron thrives with, or more to the point, that player thrives next to LeBron. Hachimura also gives this side a little bit more of a traditional size structure. They've been playing Austin Reeves at the 3. He's a 6'4" unathletic point guard. So Hachimura, and once you get Walker back, who's about 6'6" himself, suddenly you've got a slightly undersized forward in Walker, or you can play him as a big guard. You've got Hachimura, LeBron, and AD. Suddenly you've got size everywhere. That's going to help that defense as well, especially if AD comes back in the sort of form defensively that he was in before he got hurt. Now, this season's MVP race is as deep as it's ever been. There's a good 7 or 8 guys who can legitimately claim a top 3 spot here. We're at the point now where we can put LeBron back in that list, which a month ago, I don't think you could. He might be forcing these Lakers, keeping them afloat long enough that the Lakers could squeeze into the playoffs. And I mean, I wrote a story about the Lakers maybe 3 weeks into the season saying how they would toast.
You said they were dead.
Yeah, and this is all because of what LeBron James has done. There is no other major factor. Like Thomas Bryant's been a wonderful little story, great. But if LeBron doesn't go alpha LeBron, the Lakers are toast. He is keeping them in this. He's been amazing.
In terms of the Hachimama trade, I know he's not the best defender in the world. I think we can go without saying that. But I think I saw the other day they're the smallest team in the league, the Lakers. They are.
Yeah, they are. And that's what I'm talking about with Reeves playing at the 3. Dennis Schroeder's come in and playing big Dennis, but he's 6'1".
Yeah.
Suddenly you can roll with whatever guard you want at the point guard, but you can suddenly roll with, well, let's say you go with Austin Reeves since he's been starting. Suddenly you've got Reeves 6'4", you've got Walker 6'6", Hachimura and LeBron 6'8", and then Davis. That's a pretty big lineup. Like when your smallest guy is 6'4" and capable of hanging threes, and size matters on defense. So if the Lakers can improve that defense and Hachimura can hit enough shots and get out and run and throw down dunks from LeBron passes enough, if Lonnie Walker comes back in something like the form he was, and he was playing career best ball for those first couple of months as a Laker. So I'm utterly shocked that I even chose this team. But the more I looked at it, I thought, no, I'm backing the decision in. I would not have thought I would be buying Lakers stock 2 months ago, 1 month ago. But here we are.
I love this trade for them.
This is more LeBron stock than Lakers stock, but by extension, Lakers stock.
I love this trade for them. I don't know if maybe this is crazy or maybe, I don't know, 3 second-round picks. I'm not saying it's nothing, but Kendrick Nunn, what was he doing for them? I mean, to swap out.
He just struggled with shooting.
To swap out Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah.
Kendrick Nunn was doing nothing.
No, and look, he's still, he missed a year with a knee injury. He's struggling. And there were so many guards in that Lakers roster that he was struggling to find a spot. And look, for Washington, he's going to be better than Johnny Davis. You could chop off Kendrick Nunn's arms.
How bad
is he? Better than Johnny Davis. Even in the moment, I was shocked that he was a top 10.
He's horrible.
Like, utterly appalled. He's the sort of guy who, if he's your 4th guard, fine. But if he's a top 10 pick, my Lord, that's such a waste.
You can't take 4th guards in the top 10.
No, you can't. I mean, you can take someone who's got potential, and if they turn out to be a 4th guard, so be it. It's the draft. Shit happens.
I know these guys aren't the exact same.
Yeah. Well, he was projected to be a 3rd or 4th guard. I mean,
I know these guys aren't the same. They're not the exact same play style, but like there are 100-ish Smiths you can find.
Yes. Yeah. you can find. Look, I look at Andrew Nembhard in Indiana.
Yeah.
He's
good.
Taken first pick of the 2nd round, and he's better than Johnny Davis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you can pick up Johnny Davis's from practically anywhere. I mean, is he going to be better than TJ McConnell? And speaking of paces, exactly. We don't know, but the fact we have to think about it means that it's an appalling pick.
Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't meant to be riffing on the.
It's okay.
On the Wizards, this is about the Lakers. So, all right, we've each covered a buying team. Do you want to switch to a seller?
Sure. What do you got for me?
No, go. You go.
You want me to go?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I want no part of anything Chicago Bulls. I think it's just time that they.
I don't have that on my list.
Okay, good. I think it's just time. Hey, you botched the Vucevic thing, like Franz Wagner and all that stuff the Magic got. You were on the wrong side of it. And Lonzo Ball looks like his knees are shot. And DeMar DeRozan, his peak when he was carrying teams was great, but I don't think he's the same guy as when they first signed him, when he first went on that run. So,
and
I think they're
really good.
Yeah.
DeMar's been really good, but he's not as good as he was last season, and he's only going to get worse.
Yes. I don't want any Bulls stock. I feel like they're in no man's land. What is their plan?
Yeah, I got to admit, I was tempted to put the Bulls on my seller list as well. Levine just doesn't strike me as a number one option, either on the court or off the court. Like, he doesn't strike me as a culture-setting type of player. And for me, he's not a number one option on the floor. We can see that by the fact that a 30-something DeRozan came in and instantly owned the Bulls on the court. Yeah. He was instantly the guy. And that tells you that Levine is his natural role is as a number two. The thing that gives me a little bit of hope for the Bulls is that early last season, they were one of the best teams in the league. Their defense was amazing. They were and this is even with Vooch, they were really entertaining. That backcourt defensively, that backcourt of Caruso and Ball just was a nightmare, and they got that team running. And then when it did slow down, you had two of the best half-court scorers in the league in Vucevic and DeRozan. It worked well, but it needed to work pretty instantly. Vucevic is an old 32. DeRozan's about to turn 34. Levine is an injury risk. Ball, as you mentioned, anything you get gravy, he's just never on the floor. Patrick Williams, he might turn out, he might not. Yeah, that's the thing. He's fine, but he's nothing more than that. Kobe White looks good, but he's regressed. Dosunmu, I don't think he'll ever be good enough to be an offense. Defensively, but it looks like the Bulls fired their shot and missed badly.
Yep. I don't have anything else to add to that. I just, what is the plan here? Like, they kind of went all in, and now you're left with a team that's a 12 seed, an 11 seed.
Yeah. On a good year, they'll sneak into the play-in. And that can't be what this team wanted. Yeah. I know we're doing sellers, but the Bulls link in nicely to one of my buys, which is the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
So the Magic, look, this is all about that front line. You mentioned Wagner. He and Wendell Carter came across for Vucevic, or the Carter and the pick that became Wagner. But those two and Banchero, mark my words, they will be the best front line in the NBA within 5 years. With one little asterisk, it depends on where Wembanyama ends up. If he ends up in a spot where...
What if he goes to Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, look, if they get the number one pick, I could imagine them... Like, seriously, I could imagine them looking to trade down to get Scoot. Like, Scoot Henderson would fit perfectly on this team.
Would you really give up that pick?
Well, I just look at that front line and go, that's set. It is absolutely perfect. All three of them can stretch the floor.
Give my guy Ball some love.
Well, this is it. You look at that front line. You've got Banchero, Wagner, and Carter. You've still got Ball. You've still got Jonathan Isaac coming back.
Yeah.
Like, Mo Bamba is their sixth big man in the depth chart. Like, that's obscene. That is absolutely obscene. And look, the only one of those six that can play small forward is Wagner, and behind him they've got Caleb Houston, who is in the G League at the moment. But I'm a big fan of Caleb Houston, 6'8", ace shooter. I think he's really good. But that front line is just obscenely stacked. There is a consolidation trade waiting to happen there. And that consolidation trade will be to supplement the backcourt, clearly.
Well,
Cole Anthony, Markel Fultz, Jalen Suggs, Gary Harris, good players, but none of them to me look like they're going to be primetime, starting guards on an elite team. I think Cole Anthony has the chance to get there, but I just don't trust his playmaking or defense enough.
Half of Cole Anthony's problem is he thinks he's better than he is.
Yeah, exactly. To me, he projects as a Jordan Clarkson,
well, that's a great example. Jordan Clarkson needed to get his head figured out once upon a time too.
Yeah, he did. He did. And it really wasn't until he got to Utah that he sorted himself out. And by that stage, he was, 27?
Yeah.
But he could be a Jamal Crawford type as well. Like, Jamal Crawford copped a lot of crap early in his career. But one thing he did, he might have been the best player in the NBA of creating a makeable shot for himself. Like, his handle and his footwork were just obscenely good. DeRozan eventually took over that title, and you could say that it was him or Kobe through their primes. But those two just, Kobe made the shots more often than Jamal Crawford, but they could both create a shot out of nothing. But anyway, the Magic. We're not here to talk about 45-year-old Jamal Crawford.
This is
this backcourt is begging for a consolidation trade.
Yeah.
Apparently, Mo Bamba is on the market, and to be honest, I would expect the Lakers to have a look at him. But you have a look at the draft stocks that Orlando have got. They own all of their own first-round picks, plus they've got Chicago's this season, assuming it doesn't sit in the top 4, which it probably won't. They've got a Denver pick coming in 2025 for Aaron Gordon. They own all of their own seconds, plus an extra 8 in the next 5 years. They have got more than enough player ammo and draft capital to make consolidation trades if it. I've said it for years that the Orlando Magic NBA's meh franchise, like the who gives a fuck franchise, but that is very much not the case now. This front line is young, talented, it's exciting, and there's potential in the backcourt, and there is still so much room to grow for this team. I am so high on what the Magic could be in 2 years, 3 years' time.
I'd like to see him get Wembanyama, just to see if Bol play the 3.
Well, to be honest, it might be Wemby playing the 3. You might have Franz as your 2 or even your de facto 1.
Oh my god!
Seriously, you imagine a lineup in 2000. You imagine a lineup in 2026. Franz Wagner playing the point, Caleb Houston at the 2, or 6'8" playing the 2. You've got Wemby at the 3, Banchero and Carter in the big man spots. All of them can shoot. Yeah, I mean, that lineup is monstrous. That's like the Monstars come to life.
Yeah. Wow. The thought of that.
So, yeah, no, I'm 100% in. 100% in on what the Magic are doing.
Me too.
And look, I do love the science experiment of Wembanyama going to him. But if they can get Scoot, or even if they get one of the Thompson twins, like one of those Thompson twins would fit in perfectly as well.
Did you see there's a stat out there?
Both really good athletes, both good playmakers.
There's a stat out there. The Celtics have suffered 23% of their losses to the Orlando Magic.
And there you go. The Magic are already big game players as well. So.
All right, give me a sell.
Yeah, that was all right. One of my sells. Let's look. Let's go with the Wolves.
Yes.
And again, I'll put the little in brackets here. I want to sell all my Wolves stock, but I'm holding my Anthony Edwards stock. I still think that guy's got everything going for him. Yeah, but the Wolves themselves, look, we knew it was a risk, the Gobert trade. It could have.
I said it was the worst trade of all time in any sport.
Yeah, look, I still think trading Joe Barry Carroll, this is just in the NBA, not looking at any other sports.
Yeah.
But I still think the worst NBA trade is trading Joe Barry Carroll for Parrish and the pick that became McHale. When you trade two first,
going to turn into yet.
Well, look, we don't know who's going to turn into what, but when you trade a guy that, his literal nickname was Barely Cares for 2 guys who are first ballot Hall of Famers, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers, that's got to be the worst trade for me.
The Fultz and the Tatum swap will be a good one.
Yeah, but Fultz's, and again, it's 1 for 1 as well. You're not getting if you traded for Tatum and Brown for Fultz,
they botched the extra first round pick they got for trading down. It was Langford.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they did, and that's the thing. The McHale pick was pick 3. It wasn't like they traded a mid first rounder. Yeah. It was Parrish and a top 3 pick. But we digress. We're going back 40 years. look, this Gobert trade, it could have worked. Towns is shooting, stretches the floor. Gobert provides vertical spacing that Towns doesn't. Defensively they cover for each other's sins as well. Instead, what they've got offensively, at least, is two really good pairings. Edwards and Towns work really well together. Russell and Gobert work sensationally well together. But those two pairs don't work together.
Yes.
So that's a massive. And look, Chris Finch, the more I see of him, the more I think the offensive genius tag is slightly overblown. But at the same time, he's a really good inventive coach, and he just can't make this shit work.
I don't think anybody could.
No, that's kind of my point, that if a guy who's really creative can't find a way to make this work, Anthony Edwards said it. I can't be, there's too many people in the way of the hoop. I can't be expected to jump over everybody. And because teams are understanding that, taking away his driving lanes, it takes away his shot. Or more to the point, they're giving him the driving lanes, I should say, knowing that there's a heap of bodies in the way. And now they're taking away his three-point shot. Defensively, Gobert was supposed to, cover for Russell's lack of lateral quickness, for Anthony Edwards, brain farts and head turns on defense, which he's cutting out of his game, and for Towns' lack of speed as well. But the Wolves are 14th in defensive efficiency, and that's adding Gobert and not having Towns as a liability for much of the year. The thing that makes this trade worse, and this is where I've got to giggle, this trade flashed a lot of those Nets Celtic vibes from 10 years ago. And still, even if the Wolves couldn't find a way to make the Gobert edition fit, it wasn't expected that Utah would make out like bandits right away in this deal. Instead, they've got Malik Beasley, who's fourth in the league in made threes. Vanderbilt is turning into a really good...
Vanderbilt's good.
Yeah, Vanderbilt is good. He's legitimately good. And they've already got their center for the next 10 years in Walker fucking Kessler. Like, as you know, Trey, I'm a Utah fan, and I am doing cartwheels. I was expecting to do cartwheels in 3 years for this trade, not 3 months. This trade has just been a smash it out of the universe home run. It's an amazing trade.
Have you seen the movie Moneyball? I know you're not a baseball guy.
Oh, yeah, no, I have.
Okay. Every time I see Walker Kessler, I just think of Danny Ainge sitting in his office. One of his assistants comes up to him and says, "Danny, this is Walker Kessler. He can do everything that Rudy Gobert does, except he's way younger and is going to cost us way less. Oh, and we can also get this, and this for him."
Yeah. Yep. The only thing Kessler can't do is he doesn't provide the vertical spacing on offense that Gobert does. And Gobert is elite at that. But again, he's 9 years younger. He's a shit ton cheaper.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, and he will only get better on defense. Gobert didn't see the court until his third season.
Yeah.
Until Enes Kanter was traded. Enes Freedom was traded. So, Kessler is having an impact right now. And that's before we even throw in the fact that Malik Beasley has been key to what Utah are doing, that Vanderbilt has been a really good addition, and they've still got a lorry full of draft picks to be backed up and loaded into the stadium. So, yeah, look, I know we're supposed to be talking about the Wolves here, and this trade has been a disaster for the Wolves right now on the court, but it's only going to look worse in the next few years. Like, there could legitimately be a bunch of lottery picks coming Utah's way. This has been a disaster.
There will be lottery picks coming their way.
Oh, yeah. Tim Connolly's a good GM, but he has, he screwed the pooch on this one.
I think the biggest problem with the trade is that they've taken everything that Towns does well and everything that he doesn't do well and exacerbated it. Like, they're asking they're asking him to guard people that he shouldn't be guarding, and they're asking him to do things offensively that now he can't do.
Well, the thing that makes Towns such a unique offensive talent is that he's 7 foot tall, 7'1", yes, a legitimate center. Like, it's not like he's, some.
That's what he should be doing.
Guy. Yeah, he can take big guy. He can take a smaller center to the perimeter and shoot over them. He can take a bigger center out and just, stretch them out. He can take a smaller center down low and mash them. But now he legitimately has to play like Davis Bertans. He has to move. And the other thing about Towns is that whilst his shooting is elite, he's actually not a very good movement shooter. As a catch, jab step, probe, create space, rise up and shoot, he's excellent. But he's not someone who's going to fly off a pin down and let a quick hitting three fly. He's not Duncan Robinson.
And then on the defensive end, you're asking him to guard fours and threes.
Which, he's just not fast enough to do.
No.
Like Gobert would be better at doing that, but then you take Gobert away from the rim.
Yeah.
And Gobert's legitimately pretty good at guarding out in the perimeter. He's, there's those two clips, the one of Harden, one of Curry torching him. But the fact that those clips are being used 5, 6, 7 years later tell you that it doesn't happen often. So he would legitimately be better than Towns at guarding fours, but then you lose the shot blocking. You lose the essence of what goes.
You lose the whole point in trading for him.
Precisely. So, yeah, what a clusterfuck of a trade. I am selling all of my Wolves stock for the next 5 years.
I didn't have any to begin with. I had negative shares, so I think I'm all right there.
Look, I've got to admit, I'm remaining D'Angelo Russell fans. I just think he's a full pick and roll player. He's a great shooter, clutch shooter. I love Edwards. I am all in on McDaniels. I think he is wonderful. But I just think they took a thing that was developing nicely, that was cooking, it was, basting in its own juices, and they just tried to microwave it. And it's just dry and horrible trade.
Can I ask you a side Utah Jazz question? I see they're in the mix for these John Collins rumors. Would you trade Beasley and Vanderbilt for Collins in a first rounder?
No. Beasley has been so immensely important. And, we talk about, like I mentioned, he's fourth in the league in made threes. And I talked about Towns not being a movement shooter. Beasley is one of the best movement shooters in the NBA. And that is, like I can tell you as a guy who spent years as a shooting coach, that is the toughest thing to teach, is how to get someone sprinting, turning a corner, catching and shooting with someone closing in on their side, on their hip. So what Beasley does at an elite level is a really tough thing to replicate. And ultimately,
I think they might trade him at the deadline if they get a good package they like.
Oh, look, I wouldn't be surprised because he will be a man in demand.
Yeah.
And he absolutely should be a man in demand. He's a very, very good complementary player. Collins, I don't think he's good enough defensively to be a 5. Offensively, he'd be awesome as a 5. But Vanderbilt, part of the strength of Vanderbilt is you can play him next to Kessler, but you can also play him as a 5 next to Markkanen. Now, you run Markkanen and Collins as your 4 and 5, and Utah are going to give up 125 a game. It's just not going to work. So ultimately, Utah have stumbled, have lucked into a 25-year-old potential multiple all-star. His main position is the 4. So as much as he can play the 3, we saw it with Cleveland, he can potentially pinch hit as a 5 in a small ball lineup. Why would you get a lesser version of that in John Collins to play alongside him?
I just think there's a chance they're going to try to cash some more chips in and get extra first rounders down the line.
Yeah, I think they will, but I think Beasley will be the one to go, which I'll be shattered about because I think he's had a huge impact on the Jazz. But I don't think it'd be for Collins. I think the Collins rumors are still a bit of a residual from the John Collins to Utah rumors that were there from.
It's him and Miles Turner on a race to see who gets traded faster.
But Collins specifically has been mentioned in association with Utah for a number of years.
Yeah,
because he would have been perfect next to Gobert. But on the current version of the Jazz, absolutely not. I don't see the point of getting John Collins, especially
the
giving up.
The Jazz are actually a buy for me.
Can get a better result.
The Jazz were actually a buy for me. The Utah Jazz are a buy for me. I don't know how deep we want to go into the Jazz, but
the only reason they're not a buy for me is because the price is already too high.
Oh, I don't feel like it's high enough.
Return on investment.
I don't feel like it's high enough.
I think the Jazz are because No, I think the Jazz, if anything, are going to strip some assets. We mentioned Malik Beasley.
Oh, I mean long term.
Long term, absolutely. Long term, absolutely. Yeah. But this season, I think that Conley will go. Beasley might go. And the other thing, Beasley going, that opens up room for Sexton and Agbaji as well. And Agbaji's looked pretty good since he's finally cracked the rotation.
Yeah.
So I Utah's going to try and worm their way out of that top 6 seed and down to at worst the plane, at best the lottery as is. So I think Utah's stock is about as high priced as it's going to get right now.
Mine was more so long term with the side note of let's put some fucking respect on Danny Ainge's name. I mean, what a turnaround. What a turnaround for Danny Ainge. I mean, I don't even know if it's a real turnaround, but this Celtics team's unbelievable. 10 to 12 of the guys.
It shouldn't be a turnaround. He built a championship a championship team 15 years ago that might have won 2 chips if Kevin Garnett didn't hurt his knee.
Yeah.
He took that and built to the next is that now the man who he selected as a coach getting the benefiting. Now he's taken Utah, a team that had, and he's to potentially 2028 contender if all of the chips. Brilliant work. Utterly brilliant work.
Not even this. He went to go watch Markkanen overseas this summer. He doesn't stop working. This guy was out here watching the European leagues and was like, wow, Markkanen's gotten better. Why don't we add him? Home run. Way to go, Danny Ainge. I don't know. I just don't want to hear any more.
Yeah, well, that's it. He basically saw what. Yeah, he was smart enough to look at Larry Markkanen and go, okay, well, he's clearly going to be the number 1 option for Finland. Can that replicate? I think it can. And he took the gamble, and it's absolutely worked. It's tough to say that one's a home run trade, the Cleveland trade, simply because you gave up Donovan Mitchell, who could have another 4 or 5 All NBAs in him. But ultimately, given you had to get rid of Mitchell, if you're getting rid of Gobert, you may as well start again. Mitchell was always the flight risk, not Gobert. So if you're getting rid of one, you may as well get rid of the other and start again. And they've gotten multiple All-Star out of it. Good trade for both teams.
And more picks to come that they can use in other things or take players that they like.
Yes. Yeah. I'd expect these picks to be later first round, admittedly.
Yeah, but you can always – Danny can package those in a trade that he likes or move up or move down or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's flexibility there now.
How many more teams are on?
Is it my turn now?
How many more teams you got?
I've got 2 sells and a buy left. I've got 2 sells and a buy.
Let's hear them.
All right. Let's go with a sell. Again, this one, similar to my Lakers one, where it's a buy the individual and therefore buy the team. This is a similar one. I'm selling on Trey Young and therefore selling on Atlanta.
Yes. Agree.
Look, 27 points, near enough to 10 assists a game. But, man, there's just so much other stuff that Trey Young brings that you have to ask if it's worth it.
It's not worth it, I don't think.
No, I don't either. That scoring comes on 41% shooting, 31% from 3.
He's had a bad 3-point shooting year.
Yeah, he has. And he's never been a great 3-point shooter, to be honest. It's his passing that has always been better than his shooting. And the other side of it is, and this is the thing that's well known, is that most of what Young gives you on offense, he gives back on defense. But the big thing for me, the thing that really, really it's just made me sour on Trey Young. Being a superstar in the NBA is it's not just about putting up these absurd numbers and carrying your team to wins. It's about how you conduct yourself both on and off the court. Your effort, your intensity, your support of teammates on the court. Off the court, it's your application at training, looking after your body, backing your coaching stuff. It's the culture setting stuff. And I just look at what's happening in Atlanta and think, I don't think Young's doing any of that. He puts up some magnificent counting stats, and he has stolen wins for this side, but he's also disappeared from games and playoff series. Now, Trey Young was reportedly behind, or one of the voices behind Travis Schlenk getting moved on. And Travis Schlenk was only the man who backed Trey Young enough to trade Luka freaking.
Yeah, isn't that unbelievable? He got rid of the guy that made the trade to bring him to town.
I know. He's reportedly had enough of Nate McMillan to the point where McMillan offered to resign. Yeah. This is after he's already tired of Lloyd Pierce. Mm-hmm. So what will make Trey Young happy? I'm not sure.
And the craziest thing is he already gets to do whatever he wants. His usage rate's out of control. They play the most predictable offense in the NBA. Three of his teammates are standing in the corner. He's looking for lob threats, or either chucks it up from deep.
This is one reason John Collins does need to get out of Atlanta, because I honestly think he could be, 25% better than what he is now if he wasn't just, resigned to standing in the corner and knowing that, like, John Collins shoots every time he gets it, but I don't blame him, because he knows if he passes it, it's not coming back.
I think Hunter's better than he really is.
Yeah, I think so. I think he really could be. And this is probably one thing where Schlenk has made an error in judgment. Look, I don't mind DeJounte Murray coming in, but I think they underestimated the shooting ability that Huerta has, and how much that movement shooting.
They were a better team with Huerta and
Beasley. Yeah, well, Red Velvet, his movement shooting opened up so much for Young. It made defenses. Defenses can stag off Murray, knowing that he's a decent but not great shooter. DeAndre Hunter,
they stagger him half the time anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I'm absolutely 100% out on the Hawks. If they make a seismic trade and get rid of Trey Young, I might jump back in on some penny stock.
Yeah, I also have the Hawks as a sell. I want no part.
Yeah. Well, I've got one buy and one sell left. What have you got left?
All right. Do your team, and then I'll jump in with one more.
All right, I'll jump in with a buy.
Okay.
This was I almost put OKC in here, but it seemed like a little bit obvious. I'm buying on the Sixers.
Oh.
And I'm just
5-game winning streak they're on.
Well, I'm just going to let this question hang in the air for a moment. Are the Sixers normal?
Normal? No.
For the first time in a decade, are they normal? Are they a normal NBA team?
I don't know. Normal's strong. Normal's a strong word. Well, let's not get carried away.
Think about it, though. For a decade, we've had nothing but drama coming out of Philly. We've had the process. We've had burner accounts. We've had stupid oversized collars. We've had top 10 picks who can't take the floor. Embiid calling everybody out about everything. We've had the Ben Simmons experience. We've had that ridiculous time, that moment in time where they had 3 co-decision makers running the front office. One of them, the head coach. They had James Harden coming in overweight and injured and then failing again in a big moment. Like, this team has just had, oh my God, drama after drama after drama for a decade.
I can't believe Doc Rivers is still there. If you told me 2 years ago he'd still have his job right now, I'd say no way.
I remember writing a piece for Vendetta about whether Doc Rivers was overrated or not. And in the end I said, well, yes, he is, but maybe that's our fault for overestimating what he did in Boston. But I look at this Sixers team and they're ordinary. Like, not on the court. In a basketball sense, they're a legit contender to come out of the East. But in a dramatic sense, in a theatrical sense, they're just a well put together, talented group of players. There's none of the bullshit that has surrounded them for the last few years. And that talent, plus the lack of, circus clowns around them, it might be enough to get them into, over that hump and into the conference finals and maybe even further. This team is really well put together on the court, and there's just none of the bullshit. I'm in on the Sixers.
I still have one issue with the Sixers, and until there's an upgrade on it, I just can't buy in. Tobias Harris, we've seen what he is. And until they get a tier above what Tobias Harris is, I can't put him there.
I think he's been pretty good because he's finally in. He can be.
He's not a disaster.
A tertiary off. He's overpaid. Yeah, and that's not Harris's fault. Some dickhead put that contract in front of him. If I'm worth X and someone gives me Y, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh no, that's me. Sorry, good sir, I can't take your money. I'm signing that thing before the seriously. I'm signing it as they're putting it down desk. So Harris, he's probably the fourth option. You got Embiid, you got Harden / Maxey at 2 or 3, depending on the day. And then you've got Harris. That's perfect for him. Harris is really good at attacking closeouts. He's a great shooter, but he's not somebody. Oh, look, I don't know. I have my fourth option not get paid as much as him, but I think as a fourth option, especially with some of the defense cover him, I think he's in his perfect role. A fourth option.
I don't think he's terrible. I just think if we're going to put the Sixers in championship,
if he was getting 75.
Yeah, I just think if we're going to put the Sixers in the title contention.
So you cut out there, Trey.
I don't think he's terrible. I think he's a fine fourth option. But if we're going to put the Sixers in the NBA Finals, he would be the difference to me of not being quite good enough.
Look, he could be, but once you get to the finals, this is a guy who has had 3 or 4 years of averaging 20 points a game in the NBA. Yeah. My issue would be with him in the finals is that he could get picked on defensively if you've got a quicker small forward or a quicker 4. And given the fact that he doesn't see enough of the ball, or I won't say not enough of the ball, not as much of the ball as he used to, does his offense make that lack of defense worth it? But you could ask the same question about Maxey as well.
Yeah, Maxey's not good.
Harden and Embiid are dominating the ball player. Maxey's far worse defender than Toby.
Yeah.
So is Maxey's poor defense worth it? Do you go with Doc came out and said, depending on the situation, we have 3 starting lineups. That's a flex that Doc would have 18 months, let alone 10 years ago. So that's a really good sign of growth from Doc, which I didn't think he had in him at this stage.
I have one more team to sell, and then I'm out of teams. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
Miami Heat. What's the plan here, guys? Miami Heat. They're not good enough. They're just not. I know they went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but I think we've kind of seen them peak. I think we've seen Cleveland pass them. I know that a healthy Brooklyn with Durant on fire is better than them. You mentioned the Sixers. The Celtics are obviously at the top. No question Milwaukee's better. To me, they're kind of on Knicks territory. And if you're in Knicks, Jalen Brunson territory in the East, you're not good enough.
Yeah, look, the only mitigating factor for the Heat for me is injuries. Tyler Herro started out the season like gangbusters, got hurt, and he's been pretty good since he's come back, but he hasn't been as good as he was.
They're a playoff
Jimmy
team in
Butler
the East.
is still, to me, and I wrote this in my Eastern Conference grades. Oh, look, to me, Jimmy Butler's the most underappreciated superstar in the game. He is still someone who, even at, 32, and with
stay on the floor,
Thibodeau miles on the tires, he's still someone who can drag you through a series. Yeah, that's the issue. That is the issue. That is the issue. And that's if Miami can get 12, I wouldn't be selling yet, but I can understand why you're selling, because the results as they are, the actors suggest that this team is closer to bottoming out than moving up.
How about the fat turd Lowry? You gotta try to make an upgrade there. I think the Van Vliet trade is sitting there right in their face. they could trade Lowry and a pick, bring in Van Vliet.
Sorry, you cut out. So Lowry and a pick?
Lowry and a pick for Van Vliet. Make the deal. Get a real point guard in there. I think you can get a little bit better and actually maybe be more in the mix. Still didn't hear me. Or did you hear me?
Yeah, look, I do like some of what Lowry gives him, even at his age, but he's clearly fallen away this year. He's had some really good moments, and he was good for the first month or so of the season, but he's 37 and he's showing it. 36, 37, something like that. Yeah, the one thing I do like is that he is someone who can take and make big shots, and the ball is going to spend a lot more time in Butler's hands and Bam's hands, assuming Butler plays in playoffs, than it would in Lowry's. He's going to be the third and Lowry. So maybe Lowry is there to throw hit-ahead passes and just hit a bunch of shots, but he has lost a step on defense. It's a worry. It's a worrisome spot, although I still think their bigger worry is getting Jimmy Butler on the floor.
Sure. But I just think if they're going to be real contenders this year,
go to my last team.
Yeah, if the Heat are going to do anything, though, I just think they have to upgrade the Lowry spot.
Yeah, if there is a spot to upgrade, it's that one. I don't mind Caleb Martin as a fifth starter. Is it Caleb or Cody? Which Martin do they have?
I think they have Caleb Martin.
Yeah, I get confused. The Martin twin, let's just call him that. Mm-hmm. I don't mind him as a fifth starter. I think he's the right profile for it. But the Lowry position does worry me. But again, I still think the bigger issue is getting Butler on the floor. If he's not on the floor, the Heat could go out in the first round, no matter who they play. So my final team, Trey, my final seller is the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh.
So 18 months ago, it was only 18 months ago, this team was up 2-0 in an NBA Finals series. Mm-hmm. Like they had one hand on the Larry O'Brien trophy, lost 4 straight, and since they had a really good regular season last season, but man, there's just something that's not right with this team. They've lost some of their depth. Yeah, they need to get Frank the Tank back. That was the issue. They've lost some of their depth, and that's not in and of itself an issue. But when you lose so many of your top line players, Devin Booker obviously headlines that. DeAndre Ayton's missed some time. Jay Crowder,
it could be the real issue. Jay Crowder's not on the floor.
I was waiting for this. Yeah, you and your Jay Crowder obsession is almost it's almost creepy.
I'm waiting for the Suns to buy him out so that he can just go to the Celtics.
I'll tell you what. If there is a perfect Jay Crowder team, it's the Bucks. He would just
don't
fit
do that.
seamlessly.
Don't do that. I don't want to see that.
He would fit seamlessly. I know you'd hate it. He would fit seamlessly on the Bucks.
You're right.
But Crowder missing, DeAndre Ayton's missed time, Chris Paul's missed time, Booker's missed time, Cam Payne.
Chris Paul missed time? That doesn't sound right. He's always.
I know, shocking, right? But even Cam Payne, who is quietly a really important member of that rotation, he's missed a lot of time as well.
Man, I'm sick of the campaign stuff.
Look, he's not as good as what people said he was after that finals run, but he's obviously, my Utah fandom going back to the 80s. I look at those 90s finals series, and and this sort of relates back to what we're talking about here. But John Stockton was so heavily managed through the last 5, 6, 7 years of his career because of that dodgy knee that they needed a good backup, someone who was never going to be good enough to be a starter, but could come in, run the offense, juice it a little bit, sometimes play solid D and just not make mistakes. They had Howard Isley, who was really good at that. Campaign is really good at that Howard Isley role. He's never going to be more than that. He's at his limit at that role, but he can do it. And without him, suddenly you've lost your point guard and your backup. You're playing your third string. That's when you get into trouble.
I think Tyus Jones is what everyone thinks Campaign is.
Oh, I think some people do. Yeah, I definitely don't. I think he's in the red playing the role he is.
Yeah.
Like Tyus Jones is the best backup. He might be the best backup at any position in basketball, frankly, but he's certainly the best backup point guard. Now, I look at I've said it before that if Chris Paul was born in 1960, and John Stockton was born in 1985, that their careers would have worked out. Like Paul would have had Stockton's career and Stockton would have had Paul's. They're so similar in the way they play. They're both small. Neither of them are, they were both very quick when they were younger, but they both, developed into more nuanced players. They're both wonderful shooters. They're both nasty sons of bitches on defense. I love
CP3's ability to hit mid-range shots. He gets to a certain spot in the mid-range and you know it's going in.
Yeah, and the thing is, Paul would never have taken those shots if he was raised in Stockton's era. But Chris Paul might have had years where he averaged 14, 15 assists. Stockton is one of the best shooters to play the game. If he was coming up in this age where there's three-pointers, he would have averaged 3 threes a game without missing a beat. He was a career 42% three-point shooter, something like that. So I just look at the way those two players are so similar, and I look at the situations now where Chris Paul's 37 with a dodgy knee, much like Stockton was, late 30s with a dodgy knee when Utah made the finals, and how closely Jerry Sloan managed his rotations, managed Stockton's minutes. I think that the Suns really need to lean into that as well and just say, all right, you're going to come out at this point and come in at this point. We will, basically the first 2.5, 3 quarters, you are on a set rotation and we will do whatever we need to do in the last quarter. If we're up by heaps, you might play 3 minutes. If we're down and we need to win it, you'll play 12, but we will manage you. So I really think they need to do that because Paul is smart enough to play until he's 40. But if that knee's no good, he could be done next season.
Yeah.
And this is only like the tip of the iceberg with the Suns.
Once he's done, they're done. Unless they
absolutely.
somehow get another max guy in his spot, which I don't see a pathway to that.
Well, that's the thing. They got a distressed asset and turned it into something. But, Booker is really good. Let's face it. He's really, really good. But
he's a top 10 player, no question.
Yeah, absolutely. Bridges is brilliant. DeAndre Ayton might turn into something, but I don't think it's going to happen with the Suns. I think the whole fiasco around letting him go out and then matching his offer, and then, Monty Williams apparently not speaking to him the entire summer, I think that has just tainted that relationship. I don't think Ayton will ever be the player he could be whilst he's in Phoenix. And that's before we even get to, and I know that he's not going to be around forever, but this is before we even get to all of the bullshit around Robert Sarver. I just look at this team and think it is.
Well, if Chris Paul was like 32, maybe Ayton could do this.
Yeah, but he's 37. It's not the same. I just look at this Suns situation and think, I don't think this is a situation where the Suns are good and right now is an aberration. I think the Suns are pretty ordinary, and that they had 2 seasons of aberration, and that this downward trend is not just a trend. This is just the direction they're heading now.
Imagine if they just had Halliburton instead of Jalen Smith.
Oh, you've just made a whole bunch of Phoenix fans cry, Trey.
What else you got? Is that it? We did it?
Man. Yeah.
Buy or sell?
No, my 6 done.
Okay. All right. Pretty good show. Went an hour. Good amount of time. Make sure to follow Jarrod on Twitter.
Right on.
Yeah. You can find him.
Just that second it went over.
Yeah. hey_it's_JP. One more time for the people at home. Hey_it's_JP. Myself, Trey Daubert. hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure to find all Jarrod's content on vendettasportsmedia.com, and we will see you next time.
Before we go, Trey,
go ahead. I didn't end it. You're good. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was going to.
You're cutting out on me.
You've
I think we got you back. No?
Ah, bugger.
All right, I think I'm going to end it.
No, it's all right. If we've lost it, we'll just cut it
off. Go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead.
You got me?
Yep.
Have you got me? Yeah, that went. See you next time. The rest. I was just thinking it was a chance to promote the point, but
yeah.
But nah,
Jarrod's going to be having a new video series, kind of similar to the NBA Shorts. Going to be doing some solo breakdowns, maybe double breakdowns, triple breakdowns. Maybe he'll have guests on, maybe won't. I don't know. Something new that Jarrod will be doing, so make sure to check that out on the YouTube channel as well. So without further ado, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, we'll see you soon.